Have you ever felt like something was shifting in your life, but you couldn't explain it? Like the air around you had changed, like the familiar things suddenly felt too small, too quiet, too temporary. You wake up with a restlessness you can't name. The people who once fit in your life now feel like strangers. You're drawn to solitude. You cry more. You pray deeper. And in the quiet, there's this unshakable whisper. Something is coming. Let me tell you something most people won't say out loud. When God is about to bless a woman with something big, something that will shift her life forever, he doesn't just open a door. First, he prepares her soul. And that preparation, it's marked by signs. 7 signs, to be exact. These signs don't look like what you think. They won't come with lightning or applause. No, they come in disguise as discomfort, as loss, as loneliness, as divine delays. But to the woman who is awake, to the woman who has eyes to see and ears to hear, these signs are sacred. If you're watching this, it's not by accident. Your spirit brought you here because you are about to cross into something extraordinary. You are closer than you think. But first, let me show you the 7 signs that God is getting ready to bless your life beyond anything you've imagined. Of all the mysteries that shape our lives, there is one truth that stands above them all. Everything happens in its time. Not your time, not the world's time, but in divine time, there is a rhythm to your destiny, a timing that cannot be rushed or delayed, no matter how much pressure the world places on you or how desperate your own heart becomes. When God is about to bless a woman with something big, it does not come suddenly, even if it appears that way. It comes through a divine process, a careful orchestration of people, events, emotions, and spiritual shifts. And when you begin to understand this principle of divine timing, everything about your life will start to make sense. The waiting, the heartbreaks, the detours, the doors that never opened, and the ones that swung wide without warning. You see, God does not operate in chaos. He does not randomly choose moments to favor someone. His blessings are not products of luck. They are deliberate. They are precise. Every blessing you are meant to receive has an appointed, and more often than not, that time doesn't align with your schedule. That's where faith comes in. That's where trust is tested, refined, and made real. There is a kind of stillness a woman must embrace when she is in the in-between, between the promise and the fulfillment. And yet that stillness is not empty. It is filled with purpose. Before God blesses you, he prepares you. You are never given a blessing you're not equipped to handle. And if you try to grasp something too soon before your spirit, your mindset, and your environment are ready, it will either slip through your fingers or crush you under its weight. That is why so many women feel stuck when in fact they are being shaped. You are not stuck. You are not forgotten. You are being positioned. You are being trained in patience, in character, in wisdom, and in spiritual sensitivity. Because what's coming requires a version of you that is stronger, wiser, and more aligned than the version that started this journey. Divine timing is rarely comfortable. It stretches you. It places you in rooms that feel too quiet and seasons that feel too long. But what you must understand is that every delay is doing something sacred. Every detour is divine. You may think you're being overlooked, but you are being preserved. You may think you've been rejected, but God is protecting you from something that cannot carry the weight of your calling. Sometimes the blessing you ask for is ready for you, but you are not yet ready for the blessing, and so he waits. Not because he is punishing you, but because he loves you too much to give you something prematurely. There is also another truth. The bigger the blessing, the longer the preparation. If what you are asking for will shift the atmosphere of your life, it will require a transformation of your inner world. God never sends destiny into chaos. He clears out what cannot stay. He burns away what will hold you back, and often that feels like loss. It feels like confusion. It feels like pain. But hidden inside all of that is alignment. You are being aligned with your future. Your roots are growing deeper. Your vision is getting clearer. You are shedding what once served you but cannot sustain where you are going. Most people want the blessing, but not the process. They want the outcome without the breaking, without the waiting, without the loneliness. But there's no shortcut to divine manifestation. That's not how God works. He cares too deeply about your soul to give you a shortcut to greatness. He knows that character matters more than charisma, that endurance matters more than applause, that obedience matters more than opportunity. So before the door opens, He works on your heart. Before the table is prepared, He works on your faith. Before the harvest, there must be a season of hidden growth. If you've ever felt like you were being delayed or denied, take a breath and remember this. Nothing that belongs to you will pass you by. What has your name on it cannot be stolen. It cannot be rerouted to someone else, but it will only arrive when you are ready. And you may not know you're ready until you've walked through the fire, until you've surrendered what you thought you needed, until you've cried and prayed and fought through the nights when no one else could see the battle happening inside you. That's what divine timing does. It brings you to your knees so that when the blessing comes, you no longer cling to it out of fear. You carry it with grace. And here's something else. Divine timing doesn't always feel divine. Sometimes it feels like everything is falling apart. But what's really happening is that everything that's false is being stripped away. All the counterfeit opportunities, all the shallow relationships, all the temporary fixes, they begin to fall away. And in their place, God begins to construct something solid, something true, something lasting. But before you can receive it, you have to be able to recognize it. That's why the process is so important. It trains your eyes to see differently. It sharpens your discernment. It teaches you how to know the real from the fake, the promise from the counterfeit, the calling from the distraction. You don't need to force your way into the next chapter. You don't need to chase what is already yours. All you need to do is stay faithful, stay awake, and stay aligned. Because when divine timing begins to move in your life, everything accelerates. Doors you never knocked on will open. Conversations you never planned will happen. People you never expected will show up. And you will realize that it didn't come by striving. It came because you were ready. And readiness is the product of trust. So if you find yourself in the tension of waiting, in the ache of wondering when your time will come, hold on. Heaven has not forgotten you. The delay is not the end. It is the evidence that something sacred is being arranged on your behalf, something too big to rush, something too important to give to the unprepared. There is a sacred pattern that often unfolds in a woman's life before a significant blessing arrives. It doesn't come with grand announcements or loud signs from the sky. It begins subtly, quietly, and almost always internally. Before anything shifts in the physical world, something begins to stir in her spirit. And for those who are paying attention, there are 7 distinct signs that a divine breakthrough is near. These signs aren't always easy to recognize at first because they are disguised as discomfort, disruption, and uncertainty. But once understood, they become powerful confirmations that something greater is on the horizon. The first sign is a growing sense of restlessness. A woman who is nearing a breakthrough often feels an unexplainable dissatisfaction with her current situation. Even if nothing is technically wrong, something no longer feels right. The routines that once brought her peace now feel empty. The environment she once thrived in feels too small. Her spirit starts to outgrow the space around her. This restlessness is not a flaw or failure. It's a divine agitation that signals growth. It means her soul is being called to expand, to reach for more, to step into a new season that requires her to leave the familiar behind. Soon after, she may begin to experience a sudden separation from people, places, or things. Relationships she once depended on begin to shift. Some connections fade without explanation. Others end abruptly. It can feel confusing and even painful, but this separation is necessary. When God is preparing a woman for something significant, He often removes the noise around her so she can hear Him more clearly. He clears away distractions and unhealthy attachments so she can rise without unnecessary weight. It's not rejection, it's refinement. The pruning makes space for the new people, new environments, and new alignments that are meant to support her next chapter. As things fall away, a deep inner pull toward purpose begins to rise. There is a sudden urge to shift directions, to step away from the safe and step into the unknown. It may come as a quiet whisper or a roaring fire, but it becomes impossible to ignore. She may feel drawn to a dream she abandoned long ago or a new vision that seems too big to make sense. This is not coincidence. It is a divine summons. It is her calling growing louder, demanding attention. Purpose becomes a magnet, and though the path may be unclear, the pull is undeniable. But with that pull often comes increased pressure. Resistance rises. Everything that can go wrong seems to go wrong. Obstacles appear out of nowhere. The opposition becomes intense. But this is a spiritual sign, not a setback. The closer she gets to the blessing, the more fierce the resistance becomes. Pressure always increases before birth. It is not a sign to stop. It is a sign to push. The storm is not proof that she's off track. It's confirmation that she is directly in the path of breakthrough. Then, as if to test her resolve even more, delays begin to show up. Plans fall through. Promising opportunities are postponed. Doors that were once open suddenly close. But these delays are not denials. They are redirection. God uses divine delay to protect her from walking through the wrong door at the wrong time. He is not trying to frustrate her. He is trying to align her steps with His perfect will. Every delay is a divine pause, a sacred holding pattern that ensures she arrives at the blessing fully prepared and in full alignment. During these delays, something beautiful happens. Her spiritual sensitivity heightens. She begins to dream more vividly, sense things more deeply, and feel a stronger connection to her intuition. Her prayer life deepens. Her discernment sharpens. She becomes more in tune with the spiritual realm and more aware of God's whispers. This heightened sensitivity is not random. It is preparation. She is being trained to hear and obey with clarity, to recognize what is of God and what is not, to distinguish between the noise of the world and the voice of purpose. And then, without warning, the final sign begins to appear. Doors start opening, opportunities arise out of nowhere. Divine connections are made, things that once seemed impossible begin to flow effortlessly. This is the arrival of supernatural favor. It is the moment when everything that was once delayed now comes rushing in. It is the season where the blessing begins to manifest in the physical realm, not because she forced it, but because she was faithful during the preparation, not because she earned it, but because she aligned herself with divine timing. What was once a whisper now becomes a reality. What was once a promise now stands fully formed. There is a moment in every woman's journey when she begins to understand that the struggle she's endured wasn't meant to break her. It was meant to build her. The waiting, the pressure, the isolation, the spiritual signs, they weren't punishments. They were preparation. And once that truth becomes clear, something powerful happens within her. She no longer sees herself as a victim of delay or circumstance. She begins to recognize that she has been chosen, trained, and transformed for a greater purpose. This is the turning point where preparation becomes power. When a woman starts to shift her mindset from frustration to faith, from confusion to clarity, her entire posture changes. She stops asking why and starts asking what is this season teaching me? What is this moment calling me to become? This mental shift is not a small thing. It is the key that unlocks her ability to walk boldly into the blessing, because no blessing lasts without the character to carry it. And the preparation she's endured was never just about external conditions. It was always about internal strength. There's a fire that is forged in silence. There's a strength that is born in surrender. And there's a clarity that only comes when a woman sits with her own soul and refuses to run from the process. She learns to trust her instincts, to stand on her faith even when everything around her is uncertain. She stops needing validation from others because she knows that divine approval is more powerful than human applause. She starts to own her voice, her vision, and her value, not because someone gave her permission, but because she finally understands her identity is rooted in something eternal. Turning preparation into power means refusing to be defined by what didn't happen. It means looking back at every delay, every disappointment, and seeing it as divine training. It means realizing that even the seasons of silence were saturated with lessons. Her patience wasn't wasted. Her tears weren't ignored. Her prayers weren't lost in the void. Every step was part of the refining. Every test was shaping the strength she now carries. And now, as doors begin to open, she doesn't walk through them timidly. She walks through them with holy confidence, knowing she was built for this. There will still be challenges ahead. Blessings don't remove battles, but they do reveal who you become in the process. A woman who has turned her preparation into power doesn't collapse under pressure anymore. She doesn't shrink in the face of opportunity. She understands that what's in front of her is a reflection of what has already shifted inside her. She doesn't just chase purpose, she embodies it. She doesn't just speak faith, she lives it. She understands that power is not about control, it's about alignment. When her heart, mind, and spirit are aligned with God's timing, she becomes unstoppable. This kind of woman doesn't wait to be chosen. She already knows she is. She doesn't question whether she's ready. She's been through the fire, and she carries the flame. She's not afraid of the unknown anymore because she knows who walks with her. Her preparation wasn't comfortable, but it was necessary. And now every step she takes is grounded, intentional, and filled with power. The kind of power that only comes when you've been refined by delay, shaped by obedience, and awakened by purpose. Transformation never begins in the spotlight. It always starts in the shadows, in the quiet, often painful spaces where no one is watching and no one is cheering. Every woman who has ever stepped into a divine blessing first walked through a season that demanded more of her than she thought she had. Her transformation began not when the blessing arrived, but when everything in her life seemed to fall apart. In that moment, something deeper awakened, something sacred. These are the moments that shape the kind of power that can carry a blessing without losing your identity. Imagine a woman who once built her entire life around the expectations of others. She worked hard, kept up appearances, did everything right, but still felt hollow inside. Then one day, everything she relied on, her job, her relationship, even her health, began to crumble. At first, she panicked. She felt betrayed by life and overwhelmed by fear. But as the dust settled, she realized she was being called back to herself. In the space left behind by everything she lost, she found truth. She found her voice. She began to listen to the still, small voice within that she had ignored for years. It didn't happen overnight, but slowly she rebuilt her life, not on approval or performance, but on purpose. And the woman she became was stronger, more grounded, and more whole than the one she had been trying to protect. Her transformation didn't come through gain. It came through surrender. There's also the story of a single mother who worked 3 jobs to provide for her children. Life was heavy, and every day felt like survival. She prayed constantly, but saw no sign of breakthrough. Just when she felt she couldn't go any further, something shifted. A small opportunity came her way, something she almost ignored because it seemed too small to matter. But she said yes, and that yes led to another and another. She started a business out of her kitchen, and within a few years she was no longer working 3 jobs. She was hiring others. Her blessing didn't drop out of the sky. It was built in small, faithful steps while no one else was watching. Her transformation came through obedience, perseverance, and the courage to believe she was worthy of something more. And then there's the woman who battled depression in silence. On the outside, she smiled. She was successful, loved, admired. Inside, she was unraveling. It was only when she reached her lowest point that she cried out for help, not just from people, but from God. That prayer became a turning point. She began to heal. She faced her pain. She got honest about her wound. And as she began to confront her own darkness, she discovered light she now uses to guide others. Today, she stands on stages and speaks to thousands, helping women break free from the same chains that once held her. Her transformation wasn't polished or pretty. It was raw, real, and rooted in deep internal work. But from that transformation came purpose so powerful that it changed not only her life but the lives of others. These stories are not rare. They are happening every day. Transformation isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it looks like choosing peace over chaos. Sometimes it's saying no to what drains you. Sometimes it's forgiving someone who never apologized. Every small decision to heal, to rise, to trust again, that is the soil where transformation takes root. And from that soil, blessings grow. There comes a moment when hearing is no longer enough, when watching and waiting must give way to action. A moment when you realize the signs have been revealed, the preparation has taken place, and the only thing left to do is move. This is that moment. You've seen the shifts. You've felt the stirring in your spirit. You've walked through the quiet seasons of breaking, building, and becoming. Now it's time to step into your blessing. No more doubting yourself. No more second-guessing whether you're worthy. You are not here by accident. You are not listening to this by coincidence. Every word, every lesson, every pause in your life has been leading you to this very point. This is your divine intersection, the place where faith meets action, because a blessing that's been prepared for you cannot manifest without your participation. God will open the door, but you must walk through it. He will send the opportunity, but you must say yes. There is no perfect time to begin. There is only obedience. The hesitation, the fear, the imposter syndrome, those are not signs to stop. They are invitations to push forward. The fear you feel is simply confirmation that what's ahead is bigger than anything behind you. Fear shows up at the edge of destiny, but so does courage. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to move forward anyway, trusting that God has already gone before you. Think of everything you've endured to get to this point. The night you cried and still showed up the next day. The prayers you whispered when no one else knew you were barely holding on. The moments you chose growth instead of bitterness. That was not weakness. That was strength. And that same strength is what you must carry now. You've already proven you have what it takes. Now you just have to believe it. This is not the time to play small. Not when you were created to carry something so great. You've spent enough time shrinking to fit into places that were never meant for you. Enough time waiting for permission to move forward. Enough time letting fear and doubt drive the decisions of a life that was always meant to be led by purpose. You are more than capable. You are more than ready. Everything that once seemed like a setback has actually been setting you up for this. The blessing is not somewhere out there. It's already in motion. It's just waiting on you to step up and take your place. So speak the vision out loud. Take the first step, even if it's small. Make the phone call, start the business. Apply for the position, launch the idea, write the book, Say yes to what's been pressing on your heart. You don't need every detail figured out. You just need the boldness to begin. God does not bless comfort zone. He blesses faith. And right now, heaven is leaning in, waiting to respond to your movement. The time for waiting has passed. The time for wondering is over. This is the season of walking, of stepping forward with the authority that comes from knowing who you are and whose you are. You were never meant to just survive life. You were meant to transform it, to shape it, to live it fully. And the only thing standing between you and your next level is a decision. So choose to move, choose to believe, choose to step into the blessing that has already been written into your destiny. You are not here by accident. Everything you've walked through, every delay, every tear, every unanswered question, it was never wasted. It was preparation. It was alignment. It was God shaping you for something greater than you imagined. Now is the time to rise, not with fear, but with faith. Not with hesitation, but with boldness. You've seen the signs. You've felt the stirring. And deep down, you know it. Something is shifting. Something is coming. And you are ready. Walk forward, woman of purpose. Heaven has already said yes. Now it's your turn.